Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Friends, I am cracking up at myself right now. So FYI, I always record the intros for my Turquoise Talk guests after the episode, just so if I want to point out or highlight things that we talked about. And halfway through this interview with Nicole, I realized that my mic wasn't plugged in. So you'll be able to hear me, but it may sound a little different than the intro because I have the microphone actually plugged in now. So you too can be a podcast host, I promise. So let me formally introduce our guest today. Nicole Trick Steinbach is the founder of Trick Steinbach LLC, the host of the Celebrate Brave podcast, which I hope to be a guest on, and an international bravery coach. She helps women build their bravery and shows them how to stress and work less. Amen. After spending nearly 20 years working in tech, Nicole had become a global senior director. She spent 13 years living in Germany. Her and I just talked about that since I just got back, traveling the world and leading global teams across all functional areas in 25 different countries. In 2008, even with all of her success, Nicole realized that she had felt exhausted, unhappy, and alone. Anybody relate? Through coaching, Nicole discovered how her relentless pursuit of an ever-changing definition of success was pushing away her support network, deflating her confidence, and driving her to burnout. Over the next 10 years, Nicole was able to build her own unique, gorgeous, and wonderfully fulfilling life, full of connection and appreciation, rest and joy, safety and wealth. The key was realizing that bravery is a skill that she could intentionally develop and practice. Brave is her word, and we're going to talk a lot about it in this episode because now she teaches women all over the world to build their own brave. I love that statement. Build your own brave. It is up to you to build your own brave. Nicole's framework of clarity, momentum, and accountability helps her clients to set goals and establish the mindset they need to sustain their success. Nicole coaches women to view all of their successes, mistakes, and even failures as equal stepping stones to building their brave life and career. When Nicole isn't serving her clients, you can find her reading a new book, enjoying the outdoors with her two kiddos, and learning with others on her own podcast. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. She exhibits bravery in our conversations, and I can't wait for you to meet Nicole. So without further ado, here we go. Well, welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm your host, Martine Williams. I'm your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And today we have another amazing Turquoise Talk guest. Y'all know I love bringing on guests to share their story. And today we're going to be talking a lot about the word brave. And so I just want to thank you so much, Nicole. Nicole Trick Steinbach is our Turquoise Talk guest today. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on our show.
I'm really excited to join the audience here, but also the amazing guests that you've had. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell me a little bit about you for those, and I'm getting to know you too, about you and how you became an entrepreneur, your family, where you live, all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love to start at the beginning because I read a lot of fiction. And I don't love those stories that bounce around. I mean, they're well written, but I like the ones that start in the beginning.
Right. Okay.
So I was born in Ohio. My mom was pretty young. She was a single mom for a number of years, and we really struggled. And so we actually moved down to get away from, some of the crime and the drugs at the time, because I was born in the 80s, down into Appalachia. My parents bought a lot of land, and we experienced the difference between being in a city that was really diverse into and integrated into, a pretty homogeneous environment where, for example, I was raised Catholic. I'm not Catholic anymore, but I was raised Catholic, and I was the first Catholic most people had met, like that level of homogeneity. And
Wow.
so that was really informative to me because as my parents divorced, we really fell into welfare. And by then I had two siblings. So a lot of struggle financially, emotionally, with independence and where do we fit in the world? And that is something that really became a motivating factor for me
Mm-hmm.
because someone came into my elementary. I don't even remember who this
Mm.
person was. I don't remember anything other than they said, I went to this school, which is why your podcast is so awesome. I went to this school, she said, and I have a global career. She could have been doing anything, but I heard, oh, there's so many more options for me than I could have
Yeah.
ever imagined.
Yeah.
So I went to school at university. I graduated right after September 11th happened. So what I wanted to do was work with refugees in the United States, but that completely, the whole landscape
Right.
of how we supported immigrants and refugees, how our taxes were structured, et cetera, changed. And so I tried public relations. And throughout this conversation, I'm going to be the one who says the awkward thing. So maybe public relations was not the right place for me.
Right.
But, but for those of us that remember the colored ketchups, the green ketchup, the purple ketchup, that was my project. I had a lot of fun. And so I was kind of lost. And my boyfriend at the time got a chance to do a postdoc in Germany. And he was like, hey, you know how to teach English. You're certified in it. Why don't you come with me? It's like 8 months, maybe 2 years. He's a wonderful guy. We still have very light contact. So I moved to Germany with him, which was not part of my life plan, but my ancestry is actually German. So I grew up with people speaking German to me. So I had a slightly easier into that. So 13 years later, I was still in Germany and I had been a freelancer for a little while. So I started there with an entrepreneurship and I swore I would never do it again. Swore never doing this
It's
again.
not for everybody, right? We're a different breed of people.
And also different phases of life. And that's one thing that I really wanted to make sure that I mentioned is like when I was 23, 24 years old, I had so much financial insecurity. I had student loan debt. I had grown up very poor. Like I was not in the place for me. And some people are the exact opposite, right? But
Right.
for me, I was not in the place to have all those ups and downs and there and over there. And they said yes, no, they said no. And oh my gosh. So the tax code in the United States changed because for everybody that's listening, no matter where you are in the world, even if you have nothing in the United States other than school debt, you have to file taxes. There's only 3 countries in the world that do this for their citizens. Well, there was this one moment in time where the Iraq War had started, and so they were switching the tax code a little bit more. And there was this time where if you were an entrepreneur anywhere in the world, regardless of where you paid taxes, because I was paying taxes in Germany, you had to also pay in the United States. Well, I couldn't afford that.
Right.
I could not afford that.
Yeah.
And one of my clients, I was closing everything down. I was ready to move home. And one of my clients said, actually, would you like to work for me?
Mm.
And that's how I got back into the tech industry because I had been a secretary to get through school and a secretary in the computer science department, which was such a fun experience. Got back into the tech industry, became a consultant before I knew that there was a job consultant.
Right.
Went through the ranks. I started as like an associate communication something, became a consultant very quickly, traveled all over the place, rose through the ranks, became a global executive. When I left corporate, I was a global senior director running multi-million-dollar projects all over the world, teams of hundreds of people in a matrix environment, really focused on transformational strategic projects in a multinational corporate tech. And it was time for me to go. I loved the place I worked for a very long time. And everywhere, this is one of the brave things that I talk about on my own podcast and also with my clients, is that something can be amazing. And over time, it grows, it shifts, and it's really great that it does that. But I'm also growing and I'm also shifting.
Yeah.
And at some point, the gap between the strategic direction, the type of clients, the service level, et cetera, it was good. It's still good, but it didn't fit me and how I was going.
Yeah.
So I did the smart thing and I started looking for my next role using networking. I had copious amounts of time and I was interviewing for probably 2 years got into the final circle for a number of jobs and kept pulling myself out. Even my target employer, who I had been like, please let me work for you. Please let me work for you. Please let me. And I was in the final round for a managing director position. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do this. So I called my trusted mentor sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, this is what's going on. It's super weird. And he said to me, Nicole, you cannot have another boss. You are the boss.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I had carved this space out in the tech company I was working for that was uniquely me because I'd been there long enough. I had the chops. I spoke German because it was a German company and American English and could like engage and was traveling. And so I wasn't my own boss, obviously, because I worked inside of a structure, but I also really decided what my team did. We could say yes, we could say no, I could play the game. And that's when I started thinking, okay, what would I like to do? Do I have what I need, what I want for this time for it to make sense? And I put out some feelers. I use this structure I call the interest interview. I just started talking to people in curiosity. And within, I don't know, 5 or 6 interviews, it was really clear. Oh no, I am ready to run my own thing.
Yeah.
That was 4 years ago. It has been the second biggest growth process I've ever been through. The first being becoming a mother. What?
Yeah.
Right. And when I first started, I had consulting and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And now I exclusively focus on one-on-one coaching for professional women all over the world. And I talk about the skill of bravery.
Yeah.
So that is my history. That's me. I have 2 kiddos. I really enjoy them. I was not a good baby mom. That was not my phase. Toddlerism was okay. Elementary school is good, but now I have a middle schooler and an elementary school, and it's so fun. I love traveling. We travel a lot.
Yeah.
Love traveling with them. Love talking about books with them. It's just fantastic. And then I have a diva dog, total diva. Yeah. And a husband, a German husband. Yeah.
That is so funny. And I mean, there are so many like bravery moments in the story that you just shared, and a lot I could relate to. You and I are just meeting, but last year I actually left a 16-year career in direct selling, and it was exactly what you said, that there was anything wrong with the company, or like, it's still a great company. I still have great relationships with the company. And for me, it was just like, I was called out. Like, there was another assignment that I knew I was meant to do and called to do. And it was really hard to kind of walk away from that. That was probably for me the biggest big leap of faith I've ever done in my life professionally. So I just think it's really important for people to hear that, because you can do the leap, right? And you can, see other opportunities, and you can say no to the things that may be good to say yes to things that are great, right? And you mentioned, like, do I have what it takes, and do I have all of it? No, none of us do, right? When you first get started, but you just have to get started and then, figure it out along the way. And you did have a lot. And I would say this to most mompreneurs who are listening right now: you already have exactly what you need to get started.
Yes.
You
just like stepped on a little button that gets me so excited. Okay. Because one of the things that really bugs the bejeebies out of me in this entrepreneur business coach kind of space is the rags to riches. And I know that I just shared, like, hey, I was born to a single mom and it was really tough and I turned it around and things like that. But we don't have to be at the bottom of some metaphorical barrel.
Right.
To decide to build our own thing.
Yeah.
You can currently be earning great money with awesome benefits, working with people that you enjoy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be miserable to go do your own thing. And I would even offer, and I am not a business coach. Okay. Not a business coach. I am in a bunch of entrepreneurial circles. And what I would offer to people is those of us who moved from a good spot into what we believed we could create a great spot, we tend to be a lot more resilient.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're not suffering from all of the horrors, right? Of starting at the bottom. Now, if you do start from your quote unquote bottom, great. Tell that story. And let's make space for the story of like, hey, this was pretty good. And I decided to go
Yeah.
over here and do this other thing.
Yeah. Well, it comes
Yeah.
from a mindset for me of they're all stepping stones, right? Like we have stepping stones into the next season, and we don't have to like burn bridges with our previous career or previous profession. And it's okay to change your mind. I know for me, I didn't see it coming. I thought I would be there forever, and it was just one of those moments where I just knew, okay, it's time to go. But I didn't see it coming at the time. But we don't need to burn bridges, and we need to just celebrate that was a season, and it prepared me for where I am today. I'm a different woman today because of those 16 years with that company. I'm a better leader. I'm a better mom, better wife, better entrepreneur, like all the things. And so it's a mindset shift to realize that it's a stepping stone, to get me to the next season. It was preparation for what's next. The good, the bad, the ugly, and all of those things are preparing you for what's next. If you choose to see it that way. I was actually talking to a friend today who's launching her second book. She's launched 2 books this month. It's just crazy to do 2 like back to back. But anyway, she's like, I don't know why I did this. And I totally lost my train of thought what I was going to say about that with her. So I'll have to come back to it. It literally just left me. That's crazy.
Everything that you provide, because it almost sounds like having twins. Like, I'll just have twins, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And the other thing about that is like, you don't have to go from 0 to 100 in entrepreneurship. It took me 9 months to prepare myself. So what I did is I knew, because I was so senior, I knew that another layoff was coming because that's part of corporate America.
Right.
And I put myself onto the list. It took me 9 months to prepare myself to say, hey, I know this is coming. Please put me on the list. I'm ready to go. Then another 9 months for the layoffs to actually come, to have my last day, all of the things, right? And that whole time I was preparing the ground, the whole time, right? We don't have to just drop everything and run this 0. Like, if these messages that we hear sometimes of like, if you're not 100% in, you're not in. It's like, well, but I don't have to be 100% in. I can gracefully and on my own speed with my nervous system, with my, sales cycle, etc. I can build what serves me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think everybody's 100% is different. So I do think if you're 100% committed to something, then you are going to get better results because you're all in. Right. I actually just did a podcast episode on this because I'm celebrating my 100th episode, but your 100% is different than my 100%. So it's when we start looking at what other people's 100% commitment is and trying to jump into their commitment that we get burnout or we get, frustrated or confused and all of that. So just to find what 100% means to you, as an
so true. And also there are levels of privilege into this conversation, right? So like some of us have a partner.
Yeah.
Some of us have inherited wealth. Some of us have, for whatever reason, a non-traumatized nervous system. Some of us, right? Like some of us have networks or whatever the case may be. And then we can allow ourselves to utilize that, but also utilize it in a way that serves us. So like, for example, I've had a lot of trauma in my life. And so I have a nervous system that I need to take care of. I also have an autoimmune disorder. So what that looks like for me is so different than like one of my clients. She's amazing. She reminds me of Anne of Green Gables, which is a character from Canada. Like she had a pretty interesting start in life. And then it just all went to her best, very loved, very taken care of. And man, she will just pivot like that. Whereas I am more somebody who's like, I'm thinking that it would be good to do this. And then I'll play with it for a while.
Yeah.
And then once I get into implementation, it's gone. Like we're full steam ahead. And all of this, to your point, is very brave, right? What we're talking about here is the skill of choosing what's right for you. And if that isn't brave in today's society where everybody has the answer for you, do exactly this. And you'll get exactly this outcome. Which just isn't true.
It's not. And it's what causes the comparison trap. It's what causes burnout. It's the work that I do with my one-on-one clients is really helping them to embrace their true strengths and what their capacity for energy is and all of those things. Like until you know that, number one, you can't expect people to value your boundaries and value your strengths because you don't even understand what they are. So you have to get really in touch with, okay, this is how I'm going to build my business my way. what works for me may not work for you and vice versa, because we have different traits of personality. We have different capacities for energy. I have a large capacity for energy. So people ask me all the time, how do you do all the things that you do? Well, I have the capacity to support it. Not everybody has that.
That's right.
So we have to just be really careful when we're coaching people or when we're, even our friends, we have to be careful that maybe she's not going out tonight because she's tapped out. Her energy is tapped out. And you have, what you feel is limitless energy, which we don't. We all have limits.
That's right.
You need to know those limits and you need to honor those limits. But it does take, to go back to your word being brave, it does take a level of bravery to, number one, pause long enough to actually discover what your true gifts are and what your true strengths are to bring to the table, not only for your own business, but to your family and your communities, but then to live them out and then to communicate those to others. Like that takes a lot of bravery to do that in a world what says, be like me, or everyone's the same. Like it takes that bravery to be able to do that. So I don't know if you have like a one line or one sentence or one way you define bravery, but I'd love for you to share with the audience. This is your word.
Yes. So I actually love to quote, well, it's a misquote, actually. It's inspired by, let's put it that way. It's inspired by Glennon Doyle in her book, Untamed. And the way I love to say it is bravery is choosing not to disappoint yourself.
Yeah.
So if other people are disappointed, that's okay. They get to have their feelings and their experiences.
Yeah.
But what we do in my spaces is we choose ourselves. And again, not this radical, like throw everything out and go to an ashram, because that's what we're supposed to be when we're choosing ourselves. It's those 2% shift. I used to talk about 1% shifts, but that felt too comfortable for too many people. So I went with 2% because I always listen to I just notice what my clients are experiencing and how they're choosing to take action and where they begin to have that growth. And that 2%, it's like, it's a bit of a stretch, right? A bit of a stretch, but it doesn't break you. And everybody's 2% is different. Right?
Yeah.
And the way that I break down being brave is 3 parts. Clarity. So what are your strengths? So what you just said, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Clarity. What are your strengths? What gives you energy? How do you want to spend your energy? Who is your community? Who do you love enough to start a business to support?
Yeah.
And listen, if we could all just decide that we're going to love on our clients, I think most of us are going to feel a lot happier and be more profitable. Just a side comment. So clarity, right? The second one is momentum. And this is the inside actions and the outside actions. So sometimes it's mindset. Like, how am I thinking in this moment? Does this serve me? Do I want to choose a different way of thinking? And then for most of my clients, I don't know about your clients, my clients need to learn how to feel their feelings and express the feelings that they're having. Like identify what that sensation in the body means. And connect that into an action that they took or a process that they're stuck in their brains, etc. But then it's also the external action. So most of my clients are looking at a career transition. Either they're changing industries, they're changing roles, or they're changing the way they are in their function. This is especially true for my clients who are in male-dominated industries. Instead of constantly chasing the career transition they're going through is setting up boundaries, holding them, communicating them, holding them, and making sure that they get properly paid, right? And so we have clarity is the first part, momentum is the second part, accountability is the third part.
No one likes that word.
Nobody likes that word. And I
love it because it's the only way I get things done.
Yes, right? Because, and this is where I got so excited about your podcast. I just randomly chose one and I was listening and you said something along the lines of, one of the best parts and one of the worst parts of being an entrepreneur is that the accountability is accountability it's just to me. It's just to me. Right. And that is exactly, if we look up the definition of accountability, it's responsibility of one's own action. But how are women, especially moms, how are we trained and indoctrinated that we're supposed to control other people, hold them accountable? You're accountable for your children's success. Even you start seeing like some of this stuff in partnership, especially for heterosexual women, which is super weird. That's not the accountability I'm talking about here. I'm talking about who are you becoming? So for example, right now, one of the things I'm working on is being a healthy middle-aged woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I'm becoming.
Yeah.
That means I take a number of actions, right?
Right.
So now we're back into momentum, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I need to go back up into clarity. What does healthy mean for my body, my energy, etc.? And so
Yeah.
that's my statement for bravery. That's my definition, inspired by Glennon Doyle and
Yeah.
changed. And then how I specifically break it down so that it truly is a skill that you are building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, friend. So you have been trying to make some shifts this year. Maybe you set some resolutions and you're just feeling stuck. You don't feel like you're making progress, or you're just not sure what to do. And you've heard me say this before, but being stuck is a mindset, not a position. And this is where a coach comes in to support you. Because here's what I know to be true about you, friend. If you could have done it alone, you would have already done it, period. And as a life coach and a certified PDP professional, I specialize in using a research-based personality and performance survey called the ProScan to illuminate how your unique personality and natural strengths, your work and life environments are influencing real-time performance. So here's what you need to do. Go to the link in the show notes and book your free clarity call to learn more about how I can support you in your goals. I can't wait to illuminate your strengths, cultivate your confidence, and elevate your life.
And when you think about business and you think about, building your income, how does having that kind of bravery play in? Like when you're working with your clients, how does building your brave create more income and more opportunity for people? Because I do think this is the work. This is the work people don't like to do.
Yes,
And it's the work that we don't like to slow down long enough to do. We just get into performance mode, especially if you're a high achiever. You're just perform, and you're taking action, but you're not, like you said, getting in touch with the emotions that are involved with that and figuring out, is this even what I want, or is this what I see everybody else doing that I should have?
That's right. That's right. So in the corporate space, which is the majority of my people, and then I'm going to come to the entrepreneurship. Now, I do not coach entrepreneurs. I currently have one in my practice, and we are not working on her business. We are working on her
Okay.
bravery, her showing up in her space. Okay. So in corporate space, when we are clear, then we can take reliable, consistent actions on the outside, right? We can rest on the inside, right? And then we can actually create the impact. One of the biggest lies, and I fell for this. Look, I darn near burnt all the way out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason that I slowed down is because my then boyfriend, now husband, said to me, "Hey, look, I really love you." We were living together. "I really love you. But listen, if you cancel another holiday for work, I don't think I can do this anymore."
That's
And I was like, "Whoa."
call. Yeah, that's a wake up call.
Well, right?
Yeah.
So look, a lot of my lessons came because I needed to learn the lesson.
Right.
Right?
Others so that you could teach others. Yeah.
That's right. That I really strongly believe that. But when we don't know, when we're wishy-washy, when we're porous, right? When we're chasing all the things, people cannot see our value. It's not necessarily because they don't want to. It's because they cannot. There's too much to wade through. If you are at every single this is something that my grandmother would say to me, but she would say it in community. I say it in meetings. If you are at every single meeting, nobody ever has the opportunity to miss your brilliance. Let them miss your brilliance. And if you can go to every gas station and buy a Snickers, is a Snickers really as enjoyable as a beautiful Lindt chocolate?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But which one do we think is a high level product and which one do we think is a run of the mill product? For me, I know that it's only marketing. I know it's only accessibility because I study entrepreneurship. However, that's reality. So we have to make ourselves a luxury item, and it starts on the inside. I was just talking to a client of mine, and we discovered that her bonus had been cut down by somebody else's behaviors. And at the beginning, she was not upset about the thousands of dollars that had been essentially stolen from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we do not see that and say, wait a second, I am a damn expert. This is accountability. I am the expert. I bring so much value in here. What is going on? get very clear about how we want to take it. And then into momentum, I have a framework called Crucial Conversations. It's from the book called Crucial Conversations. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
That I teach people, this is how you have hard conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I'm not exactly sure your experience, but when I am paying for a service and I know the person on the other side is not undercharging me and is not overcharging me, I feel safer to continue to work with this person. If I feel like I am an ATM, which just happened to me, if I feel like I am an ATM to these people, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out. And more importantly, people like me who are connectors, we let everyone know. This was my experience. Have your own. This is mine.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And undercharge, unfortunately, I went through this with my accountant. She was undercharging dramatically for her larger. She had a proper pay scale for people like me, solo entrepreneurs who want to stay solo entrepreneurs.
Right.
But for her larger, she was dramatically undercharging. She was charging them less than she was charging us. Right.
Yeah.
So none of us feel safe. And she had to sell her book of business at a loss.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're brave, when we're clear, when we're taking clear action that serves us to become who it is that we want to be for ourselves and for others, you're gonna be more profitable. Can I just say really quickly, because I think you have a lot of online entrepreneurs who listen here, please, yes, track your revenue, but please, 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 please track your operating margins and pay yourself. Please, if you're running a business, this is a soapbox. If you're running a business, do not pay someone else more than you're paying yourself.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a mindset shift, like the whole money thing I find. And I mean, something that I've experienced too, especially going from, direct selling where it was my own business, for 16 years, but it wasn't my own product.
Yeah.
And so then transitioning over to, okay, now this is my baby that I've birthed, this is my product, my coaching business, my speaking business. And now I have to put a value on it. I have to put a price point on that. I might need to hire an assistant, which I had before. I mean, I totally believe in getting help.
Yes. Yeah.
Not feeling like you need to do it all by yourself, but it is a huge struggle I see in this space, especially for women, to put a price on the services that they're offering. And like you said, most undercharge. Yes. But I think, again, it goes back to what we said in the very beginning. You just have to pick a price and start, see how it lands with people. As long as it's obviously, like you said, you don't want to be like treating people like an ATM. You want to be providing the value that you said you're going to provide and the solution you're going to provide. But there's something, I don't know, I feel like it's more with women than men, but there's something in our mindsets and our beliefs about money that hold us back in this area, that we just have a hard time getting that clarity around, okay, how do I want to show up in this offer? Or as an entrepreneur, what am I going to charge for this? It's like, it feels good to just give it for free as long as I'm helping and serving, especially if you have a servant heart, which I do. It's hard to work through that mindset. So do you work with your clients on that too?
Well, on their salaries, yes. Right. I don't work with entrepreneurs, right? I really believe
mindset, though.
It is a very similar mindset. Yeah. And there's one important thing that I see as a woman identifying entrepreneur who grew up in male dominated spaces. So a lot of my circles are, even in the entrepreneur space, still a lot of my circles are male dominated. And then I have a few that are female oriented. Okay. I see a massive difference in how these two groups are marketed to about picking prices. Women are told to go with your soul. What can you speak to? Angel numbers, 11144. I don't even know what the angel numbers are. Okay. Men are told.
About that the other day, it was really funny. Anyway, if you're into that, you're into that. But it made me laugh.
Right. And like if you, okay, but here's the thing. Men are told, find 10 competitors. Okay. Now, do I enjoy a competitive mindset? No, I am a collaborator. However, for this exercise, please do this. Find 10 people who maybe are your collaborators. Okay. People who are doing similar things to you and have a similar background and a similar kind of audience. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. It can be similar. Okay.
Right.
And then see what they're charging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then look at, where do you live? What is the common market rate where you live? But then, like me, if you're global, you also need to look at where you think most of your clients are going to come from and what is happening there, and then try out some price points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's how men are marketed too, as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Please do both. So if you have something and you're like, well, most of my competitors, collaborators, whatever, are charging, I don't know, I'm going to make something up, $4,000, but you love yourself a good angel number, and an angel number, I don't know if it is, but like, let's just go with it, is 4444.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
that. Do
Yeah.
that. But please do the market research. You are
Yeah.
running a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to look at your numbers. And like you said, you have to pay yourself. You're not
Yes.
working for charity. I mean, this is a business. And I think someone asked the other day, and I thought it was such a great question. Are you running a business, or are you running an expensive hobby?
That's right. That's right.
You know, because when you are not paying yourself and you're expensing out, whether you're investing in courses or masterminds or people to help you,
that's right.
and you're paying your personal bills as well, and you're not paying yourself, then you just have an expensive hobby. You know, you're not really like a business. I don't know any CEO that doesn't look at the numbers. You know, you have to look at them. And I know I can hear someone say now, but I'm not a numbers girl, because I've said that before. But you need to learn to be, or find someone
real fast.
Yeah. Or find someone who can. That might be the first thing you need to outsource, is give someone all that and make sure you're paying yourself. Hire someone. There are people who are experts in that. You don't have to be an expert at everything, but you do still know your numbers.
Yep. One of my clients, if you want to have an expensive hobby, you have our support. We love that. Have an expensive hobby. Be of service in that way. If you have the privilege and the infrastructure, go do it. One of my clients started a community where she lives for a very specific demographic. And she basically pays for it. And so now in the second or third year, she's saying, hey, everyone, unfortunately, I can't continue to pay for this. And people are like, you were paying for it? Like, yeah, this isn't free. I have to actually reserve the space. Right. And so now it's like, okay, this event costs not even for her time, because this is a choice she's making. She has a full-time, well-paid job, and she has a partner with a wonderful income. So she's like, this is how much this event costs.
Yeah.
So we just need to get to this. Like, let's say it's $250. So one time, one woman walked in and was like, here's $250. Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another time, it was like $5 from a bunch of people, right? But they worked it out. So if you want to do that, just be really clear. This is super brave. Make a choice.
Yeah.
Be really clear. Create your action plan, and then become the person with the action plan.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
However, if you are in the position where you cannot hire someone to look at your money for whatever reason.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Please find someone in your life that when you show them, let's pretend you're just using an Excel. Okay. You just started out. You have maybe 2 clients. You're running an Excel of your costs. Just pick somebody. And when you show them the Excel, you want them to not be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. You probably have some really great friends that love some spreadsheets, and they can look at that for you, and they can give you some honest accountability. You don't have to pay someone to give you honest accountability. People love doing that. They love giving their thoughts and their feedback.
Yes.
So yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because there are some people right there in your own circle that this is their gift. It may not be their job or their career, but it's something that they love to do or that they're really great at. So just ask for them to take a look at it. You know, utilize your friends and the people that are there to support you.
That's right.
So since we're talking about money, how did you rate the cycle of financial struggle?
Nobody likes my answer. Nobody likes my answer.
It's all safe here. It's all good.
You ready? I left the United States.
Oh.
I moved to a social capitalistic society. Yeah. So in Germany, man, you got to work hard to be poor. And I don't mean like, going from paycheck to paycheck. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about poor. Like one of my core memories is going through a couch for coins for food money with my mother, with 2 little siblings sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. That kind of, you have to work really hard.
Yeah.
So one of the misconceptions is that we in Europe pay a lot more money in taxes. That's not true. We actually don't. When you take everything that you pay for and you compare it more or less apples to apples. So you put in your healthcare, you put in your 401k, if you're lucky enough to have that, you put in all the other stuff, right? And then you compare, it's about the same tax rate, except for in Germany, if something happens for whatever happens, like when I got laid off the first time, I learned my second favorite German word, which is Abfindung.
Yeah.
It's the payment a company is legally required to pay you when they lay you off. And this is not 6 weeks.
Right. Right.
This is, I think I got 6 months. And that company is still thriving. It is still profitable because they have to plan for long-term sustainability. So a socialized capitalist society. I had a very, very hard pregnancy with my second. I was on bed rest for 6 months. We had to go to a specialist during the pregnancy. I think it was every other week, and then it was every week for a little while. We had a very dramatic birthing process. She got support. I got support. We ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. I nearly died once. She was very ill. We walked out of that hospital and moved on with our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Universal health care is the way in and through true poverty.
Yeah.
So people really don't like my answer. They really don't, because I worked hard. I said yes before I was ready. Like I said, I was a consultant before I knew what a consultant was. Somebody got sick. They asked me if I wanted to go to Norway. They gave me a literal printed binder. I was born in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I came back and they're like, you're a great consultant. And I'm like, that's awesome. What's a consultant? Right. So all of those things can be true, but that's also true here.
Yeah.
The difference is that there is not a system that elevates me up or elevates someone else up. I just always imagine these little German bureaucrats in their nice little suits with their fancy socks. Germans love themselves a fancy sock. Okay. And they just like shove people up into the middle class.
Yeah.
And then they take all of these perfectly constructed pieces of wood and they perfectly nail that thing shut. And then they put fire on it and then they weld it. Like, you have to work very, very hard to be poor. Right.
Yeah.
And so once you're stable, then, for me, I took a ton of risks, a ridiculous amount of risks, but I could do that because I knew if I fail, there's a thing there for me, because I don't have that in my family. My family cannot catch me. They may want to, but they physically cannot. They emotionally cannot, they financially cannot, they physically cannot. So
I love it. I just love honesty. No, I mean, I just love honesty. I mean, there's lessons in everything, right? So, I mean, no matter what people believe or what they see there, about what their beliefs are, all that, they can still learn from what you just shared. So I just appreciate your honesty and being brave to say something that's may not be, something everybody wants to hear or believes themselves, but that's your story. That is your story. It's not my story, but it's your story. And it's important that all the stories are shared.
And I love that you said that because, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable here and I'm not going to name any names. I've been on some really big stages as an entrepreneur after leaving corporate tech. I have been literally silenced when I answered the question that way. Literally silenced. They turned my mic off.
Wow.
I was on a podcast and they decided not to release it because I answered that way. And those were two really potentially important moments for me.
Yeah.
And that carried a cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me to share, right?
Yeah.
But it's clear. Who am I? I'm a brave person who tells my truth. I don't need it to be your truth.
Right.
I really don't. Like when people talk about, the bifurcation of the United States culture and the German culture and all of these things, like as long as nobody's questioning human rights, I want to hear your opinion. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. I think it's fascinating, right? I don't need to agree with you. You don't need to agree with me. That's who I am. That's accountability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clarity is speaking clearly, giving people the chance to know, probably not going to like this, but it is my truth. And then momentum, actually doing it.
Yeah.
Right. But my heart rate, like if you could see my heart rate went up when you asked me that question. I was like, oh shit. I'm sorry. I don't know if you swear on this podcast. I apologize. Oh no. Here we go.
I think I mean, again, whether I agree or disagree with you, it's your story. And I think that's a lost art we have in our culture today, is that people are not willing to hear something they don't necessarily agree with or approve of. And we get so easily offended by it. I'm not offended at all. Yes, I think it's a controversial topic. Probably is someone probably going to like, yes, but I'm okay with having different conversations with people. Like you said, as long as it doesn't go like way against everything or like human rights, like that. So no, I think it's a lost art. We can all hear other stories and may not agree with them, but it's still your story. It's your story to tell. So thank you for being brave. Look at you just like putting it out there, being a product of your product, my friend. So as we wrap up, what are you most excited about in your business right now?
Oh my gosh. I kind of knew this question was coming. And so I was journaling about it and I got so excited. And then I started making TikToks, but I was too excited. So my lips, like, I have a stutter. It's very, very light now. I've done a lot of training, but I was like stumbling over myself. You know what I'm most excited about? I'm most excited about continuing the intimacy of one-on-one coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And look, I enjoy group programs. I am not anti-group program. Maybe in the future I'll have a group program.
Yeah.
But right now there is like, I have literally my hair is standing up on my arm and my accent's coming out because being an intimate partner and collaborator with a woman reaching the goals that matter to her, not some checklist, but really matter to her.
Yeah.
I mean, I sleep so good at night and I wake up so ready to go in the morning.
Yeah. 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 My coach used to call that the paycheck of the heart. Like that's what it is. Write that down.
Oh, well, girl, I'm already scrabbling over here. Paycheck of the heart, which is different than getting paid in martyrdom. Yeah. This is amazing. Paycheck.
Yeah. 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 And as a fellow coach too, it's just, there's nothing like partnering with someone and seeing them go from, like a hopelessness in their eyes to excitement, to like low confidence, to be confident, stand and be brave and, be able to do the things that they never thought was possible. It's a really, really fun place to be. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and the women that you're coaching. And I hope, I know you'll be very successful in what you are pursuing and the work that you're doing. So what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So the absolute best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn because I do service mostly corporate professional women. So that would be great. I'm also on TikTok having a lot of fun. People are so generous with their opinions there. So come over and give me your opinion. I love it. And then I do have something to help you with overwork. And I have run this by a lot of entrepreneurs. It's called the Accountability Triangle. It's based on a lot of really wonderful research from leading organizations like the Project Management Institute, the ProSci for Change Management Institute, as well as coaching certification. And so if you're interested in that, you go to my website, which is tricksteinbach.com, and then work-less. And that's really going to help you get clear so that you actually work less. Because I'd love to see people work less, whatever that is for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that you can enjoy. I mean, for the audience here, we didn't start our own companies to be miserable in our private lives.
Right.
So let's make sure that we're actually enjoying everything that we're doing. So if that helps, I would love to share that with people. It has a workbook and it also has a video along the lines. And then I think it would connect really nicely into how you talk about accountability as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll put the links to all of that in the show notes for everyone so y'all can check that out. And just a huge thank you for coming onto the podcast today and sharing about the word brave and sharing your story and modeling what it looks like to be brave. So I appreciate that. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, friends. Well, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.